Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Unreadable. It is late in the evening. CJ and I are battling barking dogs and neighbors and all kinds of things to bring you this Unreadable update, but this is an exciting one. We are actually on chapter 12, and let me check our word count really quick. What is our word count at? We're at 26,740 words, which is a bit ahead of schedule, I believe. We'll show you something in a few minutes. I actually need to put word counts into that software so we can figure out our goals and figure out if we're on track or not. But I think that we're on track. But anyway, and we're doing well at writing chapters and stuff like that. So let's update everyone on where did we leave off last update? Did we leave off on?
I believe we left off with chapter 10. And the struggle of figuring out Frankie is not there. There's been burglaries. And then we were trying to figure out next steps as far as, what's in the go box and what's happening with this meetup with her father and tattoos.
That's right. Yes. So basically where we're at is after our last update of Unreadable. And if you guys haven't caught up yet, if you go back to the first one, you'll understand a little bit about what this project is, and maybe we'll add a blog post to our website. Since we were doing some of this under Plotter, we'll add a blog post to our website that talks about the origin of this story, where it came from. To catch you up really fast, essentially, CG and I did a webinar on mastering fundamentals of outlining for Plotter. It was one of the last things we did before we left. And during that webinar, we not only planned a book together, but we decided we were going to write it together and we were going to put it up for pre-order. It becomes available January 25th of 2024. Of 2025, 2024. We'd have to do time travel. It's not a time travel novel. Anyway, we'll tell you about that last Thursday. But anyway, so it releases in January of 2025. So we have a definite deadline and a timeline where we need to get this done, get it to an editor, et cetera, all those different things, right? So we are in this process, and we've been in it for, really, it's been about 5 weeks, I think now. We've done about 4 weekly updates, but we've been at it for about 5 weeks. So we were figuring we needed to do a couple of chapters a week to actually accomplish this on time. So we're about 2 chapters ahead, I believe, of where we actually need to be, and I think we're significantly ahead as far as word count is concerned. Although I have a feeling we may be doing some editing because I think we're overwriting a little bit in some areas, but not terribly so. And last week where we left off was essentially with the end of chapter 9, where we had discovered that another character that we had was a minor character, had become more of a major character and more involved in this particular scheme than we had initially anticipated. And so we had to figure out what to do that. Now we figured out some cool things, right, CJ? First of all, we've done some character development, but we actually figured out some pretty cool stuff. So why don't we talk about that really quick?
Okay. So we were kind of playing with the idea of Frankie being a little more involved in Harper's past. So that comes to play. And then the fact that Frankie has a connection to Westbrook and Westbrook's connections, that is something that's coming into play there. And then her father, there seems to be some weirdness there. Always very exciting. So we're trying to bring all of these things together so that the past and the present, especially this really troubling past that Harper has with her father, is going to start to make a lot of sense now as to certain decisions he made, certain things she did. It's going to be interesting, fun stuff. And so within the framework of this, there have been moments where we were like, okay, we know the beginning, we know the middle, we know the end. We have some plot points to which we are writing to, but there have been moments of reevaluating and then realigning, because we're saying, okay, to get from point A to point B, based on these internal struggles and the story that we're trying to tell, what events make sense? And based on the way that our internal conflicts are driving this story, is it ringing true to the story and the characters themselves? And so we're going through and figuring that out right now. And it's like Troy said, there will probably be, there has to be rewrites. This is what you do. You write, a draft that is a draft, and then you do it better the next time. So
Well, yes, and even though we're editing as we go, because we're both editors, we're going to need an outside set of eyes on both the plot and the editing of the prose itself. So even though we're kind of editing as we go, that's not going to be enough. So we don't want to take away from the fact that we're going to need a human editor to look at this at the end. Now, we're going to probably use some AI tools along the way, and we'll probably show you some of those as we do, some things to help us with grammar, even with story structure and things like that. We'll probably drop it into Fictionary and some other tools just so we can show off some of the things that we're doing that you as an author can follow in our footsteps and do. So a part of this is not only telling you about how we're crafting the story and how we're changing it as we go, but giving you kind of a roadmap of like, we're working writers doing this because we have a deadline, just as if we had a publisher deadline. And so we have to work quickly and accomplish a lot in a relatively short period of time. And so we're essentially showcasing to you how we do that. So this is in part about the book itself and the process, but it's also about showing you the process and showing you the thought process of working writers, especially in collaboration as we work our way through these things. Now, in that process, we have found a tool. So we were using Google Docs. Google Docs is not my favorite for lots and lots of reasons. And some of you understand those. And we've all had the Google AI debate about whether Google is using our information and all kinds of stuff like that. And so we don't love Google Docs, but we found a tool that has actually been around for a while, but we just started using it. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, CJ? And then I'll throw in some extra stuff there.
yes. So I should really say Troy had a super cool demo from Ricardo at Reedsy when it came to Reedsy Studio. And apparently this has been around for a bit. I was clueless. I hate being clueless, but now I am less clueless. Yay me. And so now he demoed some stuff for Troy, and then Troy was like, CJ, you got to look at this. This is so cool. Let's put our story in here. It'll be so much better to work in this platform in Reedsy Studios than having to deal in Google Docs. And I was like, yes, and please, and let's try it. And let's also share what we're doing with you guys, because we're trying to give you this process of collaboration, show you how we're doing it, what tools would be helpful. And it looks like this is going to definitely be one of them. We've been playing around with it a little bit. Troy, do you want to can you share your screen? I'm like, what are we in?
Yeah,
Are we in Zoom?
I can share my screen. Oh, yeah, I can share my screen and I can show you, at least in part, what we're working with here. So let me grab this. Oh, if I can grab the right window here. Oh, please let me grab the right window here. Oh my goodness, I have way too many windows open. This is unacceptable. Okay.
Are you having to scroll through window one by one?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hopefully you're seeing the right window right now.
Correct. We are.
So basically we're looking at, so for those of you that are familiar with Scrivener, this is going to look very Scrivener-like, and it is kind of in some ways. So basically it has folders. You can create folders and chapters over on the left-hand side, which I happen to really like. It's one of the things I like about Scrivener. I used to love Scrivener, and I don't love Scrivener nearly as much anymore as I used to. So, and there's lots of reasons for that. Part of it is just their setup and the fact that their UX is relatively old. It hasn't really been updated. They're a relatively small team in the UK, and I understand why they haven't updated things, because people just don't use, they don't demand them. But anyway, so people keep using Scrivener, and I like Scrivener for some things. But the thing I like about this is a Scrivener substitute in a lot of ways, but that we are able to collaborate with each other. So I could be typing in this chapter for chapter 1. So we have things separated by chapters. So the difference between this and Google Docs is that I can drag, instead of just the navigation, I can drag and drop these chapters to change their position if I want. So I can do things like that. I can also see in real time if CJ is working in this document. So you can see that CJ is making changes right in front of you there. And those changes are appearing right as I'm watching her work with it, just like we do with Google Docs. Well, the other thing that we can do is, just like Google Docs and Word, we can make suggestions and track changes as well. So if I want to say this is in back instead of in front, then it shows a track change just like it would in Google Docs or in Word. Now I'm just going to reject that change because I don't want that to actually happen. But so we can turn this on and off depending on whether we're editing each other's work or whether we're just writing in the program. When I'm just writing in the program, I don't want it to show track changes. Okay. And then I can say whether I want it to show the deleted content or not, which can make it run a little bit faster probably. But you can see down at this collaboration spot where we can basically come in and we can invite someone else into this as a co-author. You can also create a preview URL, which is a link you can create for beta users. So they can preview your book, and they can read it, but they can't make any changes or comments. But comments are coming to that soon as well. So anyway, so those are options. But the other thing that's really cool over here is we have characters and places right in this program. So essentially, we've got secondary characters, we've got our primary characters, we've got minor characters. And so we can look at these in whatever way that we want. So we can come up here and look at our main characters. So we can look at Harper Quinn. So let's come up here to our main character folder. And we can look at minor characters. Then these ones are outside the folder because these are our main characters. So I can actually drag these around, change the position that they're in, and add information. So since we just started on this, we've added in characters, but we haven't added in details about them. But if you look at in these cards, I can add in an image, and I've created some fields here that I want us to fill in: height, weight, eye color, hair color, build, core fear, core desire, and misbelief. So we're going to incorporate some of the stuff that we've done with Story Genius into here. We're also going to create a folder where we can have, outside of the manuscript, we can have some of the scenes that we've written that were scenes from the past. So they're those crossroads scenes and things you write as a part of the Story Genius platform, but that we can have inside this platform without having them actually inside the manuscript. Okay. They also have some templates here, sort of some planning templates. So you can plan your book here. We're going to add some stuff of our outline into here, but they do have the hero's journey, which gives you some explanations about how this hero's journey works, similar to some of the templates that we had in Plotter, only they only have one, at least at the moment, but they're talking about adding some more as well. So this is a really well-developed software. It allows you not only to write, but to plan and even to do formatting. We'll talk about the formatting at another time because I'm not going to use this for formatting because I have another program that I use for formatting, but it is possible to format a book pretty easily within this Reedsy Studio. So anyway, that's just a real quick tour of the tool. We haven't really fully used it yet, so we're still playing around with it, but I'm really excited about some of the possibilities and some of the things that we can do inside of this tool.
Did you go in yet and do the word count just so we can see where our trajectory is? Because I actually want to know. So I was going to make you do it now.
Let me see here. Oh, so you go over here to targets. Okay. So my manuscript goal. So in this particular case, I'm going to set a target, and we're going to set a target probably right around 70,000 words. And we probably want to have this we want to have it complete by probably the end of November so that we can get it to an editor and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll say, well, let's pretend it's mid-November. Okay. So we'll say, okay, let's create this goal. And what it basically is telling us is that we have to write 2,000 words a day to finish on time. If we're going to have 7,000 words and be finished by mid-November, 70,000 words but finished by mid-November, which isn't too bad. We've been writing, when we do write chapters, they're generally about 2,000 words ish. Mm-hmm. So this is probably quite doable, but this shows us where we're at, where we need to be. And basically this shows that we've removed one word today. CJ edited and basically subtracted one word. Okay. Also added one. So we're actually at 0. Mm-hmm. Right. But anyway, and we can add writing goals. So we can add weekly writing goals and say, hey, this week we want to write another 5,000 words. So we could add another writing goal. That's like weekly. And we want to write 5,000 words by the end of this week. Mm-hmm. Now that's a pretty noble goal, obviously, because we're a little ways into the week.
We can do it. Still, I think it's my turn.
September 1st? Well, okay, so it did it a week from now. Okay, so a week from now, to make 5,000 words a week, all we have to do is write 833 words a day. So that's actually not bad. that's actually less than our overall goal. So we should actually up that 5,000 words to probably 6,000 a week. But anyway, to meet our goals. But anyway, so you can set goals like this. You can basically look at word count, search only this chapter. You can include end notes. You can say, what's the reading time? So there's 2,400 words in this chapter 1, a reading time of about 10 minutes, 118 paragraphs, characters, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's just really interesting, the things that we can do. If you don't count spaces, it counts your characters for you, stuff like that. We think this is going to be a really great tool for people during Nano. So that's one of the ways that we plan to use it as well. But we'll do a more thorough demo of this at some point later on. But this is just an idea of the capability of this program and the ways that we're using it in our collaboration. And normally I would tell you, if you're in the middle of a collaboration, in the middle of a book, don't switch tools and try to learn something new. But this one's very simple. It's very intuitive for us because we're very used to writer tools and the way they're set up. So I'd say we're getting away with it. I wouldn't recommend it maybe for everyone if you're in the middle of something, but if you're prepping for Nano, this could be a great tool to look at. And in another thing, we'll look at actually the planning version of this and how you can plan a pretty simple plot in this tool without using any external tools. Not that you shouldn't use external tools at some point, but you don't necessarily have to create a plot like, say, for Nano, that's a fairly simple plot. So anyway, all right, I'm going to stop sharing our screen. That's an update on Unreadable. We are in chapter 12. We're at 26,000 words, as you can see by our word count there. So you can see we're not faking it. Either that or we've got a lot of lorem ipsum stuff in there. We're fooling the heck out of you, but that's probably not true.
Replaced all with filler.
Yeah, we filled it all with filler. No, that's actually not true. So anyway, so you can see that we're actually working our way through this. You can see the chapters that we've created, and we'll talk to you more about that next week, and then we'll kind of update you on how things are going with this tool and stuff like that, and the various different things that we're doing with Unreadable. Anything you'd like to add, CJ?
No, just that I'm super excited to play with Reedsy Studio stuff, and also I'm going to have to be really careful about not playing too much so that I write the ding dang book. That is all.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. I already went down the rabbit hole of maybe I can AI generate character pictures for every one of these characters, and I'm like, nope.
Yeah,
don't do it. And I pulled one of my other books into it as well that I'm working on the revisions of right now. And I'm like, oh, I need to work on that one too.
Anyway, Troy's ambition. He was like, I think I will do another pre-order. And I was like, you shut your mouth.
Yeah, I'm going to set up another pre-order for this one to force myself.
Overachiever. Go rearrange that Enneagram. I'm tired of that person. No more. No, I'm tired for you.
I'm a 7 with an 8 wing. I don't sleep and I'm enthusiastic about everything. Anyway, so that's one advantage. Yeah, you see that? And it's like, yeah, lovely. Anyway, all right. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for joining us again for an update on Unreadable. We're happy to update you about that tool. We'll have a separate video where we talk about that in more detail, especially the planning aspects of it. And as we ramp up for doing Nano, because we're going to do Nano this year too, we've got all kinds of ambitious plans. So we're going to do Nano this year too, and we're going to help you guys get ready, and we're going to hold you accountable and do some write-ins during it. So it's going to be really exciting. So tune in to our next video, and we'll talk more about that and what we're doing with Unreadable, and we'll really have to rock and roll to get this thing done maybe before the 1st of November so we can actually roll into our Nano project without a million other things on top of us. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time for our next update of Unreadable. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.